I got this back on, I lifted up the bike and I was just slowly draining the oil out. I didn't do this on video, but draining the oil out, because you guys know I got to change this. Now, I want to say that there was no structural damage to this bike. There was none to the swing arm. You can see that. There was nothing done to the forks. None of that. There wasn't nothing done to the radiator, thank God. There wasn't anything done to this side of the bike at all whatsoever. So, I mean, this was pretty much the tank and this and the handlebars, and the rest of this was just the plastic stuff. So, but I'm going to go ahead and crack these loose. I'm going to do it off camera, and then I will try taking these off on camera. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my drain plug back in because my oil is, there's nothing dripping out. Oh, and I still got to take my oil filter out. And I'm sure you guys know potentially how to do an oil change on a bike. If you don't, then drain plug, drain oil, put plug back in, take filter out, let the oil drip, and basically that's what we're going to do. But I'm going to need to take these parts off. I got kind of chunked up real good right there. It hit hard and it missed this, so thank God. And it was shifting okay when I drove it home, so. Alright guys, so you want to know a trick at draining your oil and not making a mess on their exhaust? So what you want to do is you want to go into your wife's kitchen and you want to raid the cabinet for some tinfoil. And what you're going to do is you're going to use about an 18-inch to a 22-inch size. It just depends on your exhaust and where your oil filter is at. And all you're going to do is you're going to put this on your exhaust manifold, or not your manifold, but your header pipes. Excuse me. Thinking of a car. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take this and you're going to put it like so. Here. You see that? See how I'm putting it on there? So what it's going to do is it's going to direct the oil down into the pan, and it ain't going to get nothing on your exhaust pipes. But if you don't have any tinfoil, just go to Walmart or somewhere where you can get some. But by all means, raid your wife's cabinet of tinfoil. Here's another little close-up shot. That way it just goes right down into the pan. Alright guys, let me see if I can do this one-handed here. I got that on there tight. There we go. And you're going to see how this is going to work. See how that's working? You can tell. See, I just changed the oil not too long ago in this. And so, but look at that. Nothing on the exhaust. And you're just going to let that drain out for a little bit. Just leave it sit there and let it drain out. It's the easiest way to not make a mess all over your exhaust. And if you got, you know, an inline 4, you got the 2 pipes over here, 2 pipes over here, you got the oil filter in the middle, you just like drape it and then run it down here this way, and it'll leak all the oil out into the pan and not make any mess. Hopefully your wife don't get pissed about the tinfoil, and don't tell her I told you to take the tinfoil. Alright guys, for this particular oil filter, we're going to be using the KN204-1, and that's what I'm going to be sitting on there. This, when I changed the oil, I just went down to Pro Caliber and got a genuine Honda part. But you know, this has got all this Japanese writing all over it, but you know what it says? It does say assembled in the USA. So, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can get the genuine Honda, but you can get the K&N. You also want to make sure that it does fit on there first before you halfway fill. I like pouring oil into my filter and getting it soaked in there to make sure that there's oil in it, so there's just, it doesn't take it as long for it to get up inside the head of the motor. So I've always done it that way, even with my cars, poured oil into the filter. You don't want to overfill it You want to make sure that that your oil can sit in there like that as you're turning it in there. You just need to put some in there. Make sure right when you start the bike, you're getting plenty of oil up into the cylinders. So I'm going to take this out of the box and we're going to screw it on there, and then we're going to make sure that it fits. And we're going to check the size and the diameter and everything and make sure that it's the right one. Alright guys, now that I got it out of the box, I'm just going to check it and I'm going to make sure that it's going to fit on there. And the only reason why I bought a K&N filter is because I don't have a bike dealership that's real close to me. I have one, I mean, I do in downtown Portland, and then there's some, over on the other side of the bridge. But the closest place to get parts, and it fits real well, so you can see that. And there's no like binding up in the threads or anything like that, so. But I don't have a place close to me that I can get like, simple stuff for this thing. And so I bought the oil and the filter from Cycle Gear. So I'm just going to fill this up real quick, or I'm going to put some oil in there. And that oil was super clean. This oil only had about 100, I'd say 300 miles on it. So, but I got some really good oil for this thing. I'm going to dump this in there real quick, and I'm just going to screw the filter back on there, get her hand tight. And she's down to a really good slow drip. So there's plenty of the oil has gone out of the bike before we take the side casing off. So for the oil that I'm going to be using, I'm going to close this door real quick because all you're hearing is traffic. I got some of this castor oil, and it's a 1040 weight synthetic blend, and it's a 4T, which is good. Check it out, guys. Active Bond. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to put this in the bike before I put like regular Honda oil in it, stock oil, but I'm going to use this stuff. It's what they had, so it ought to work pretty good. Alright guys, you see how oily this is? It's a good idea to take a shop rag, to stick one down there on the bottom, and maybe one on the top like this, if you're going to keep the box so you remember what the part number is for your oil filter next time. But I don't have to worry about that because I know it's a 2401 and I'm used to changing the oil on this thing. But if you're going to store it, then actually it's a 204-1. If you're going to store it, just keep it like that. Keep it in the box. Put it up on the shelf somewhere and write used on it. Write used. That way you know it's been used, and you can keep that for next time, and you can compare filters, and it will be the right filter that you get. So what I do is I poke like a little small hole right in the top of it, right here, little small hole like that, and then you put another little hole right here for a breather hole, and then actually you can make this a little bigger if you want. That way you just want it to pour slow down into the filter. I'm trying to show you guys. I'm trying to lean this over here like that. You can see how it's slowing. It's a slow pour, and there you go, and you can see the oil kind of getting down in there. You don't want to get really much more than that, and then roll the filter around a little bit. Let that oil soak. Oh, sorry about that. Let the oil soak a little bit in there into the filter. You can fill a little more up in there. You can see when it starts to pour out where you don't want it to come out, but you can kind of get to that point, and then that way you can screw it on there without any oil like spillage coming out. I'll try to get it in the light here where you guys can see it. So we're going to put some more in there. And as it gets heavy, I don't want to spill it, so I'm just going to pause the camera for a minute here. You can kind of see it bubbling in there a little bit. And if you've poured too much into it, then you can always like kind of relieve a little bit of it. But you can kind of see how I can get the filter to like tip. Sorry guys, dropped the camera. But you can kind of see how I got it. I can get it to tip and screw it on there without it like starting to leak out of there. So you don't really want to go over the top of that little part right there, that little inside of that middle part. And I can see the oil swimming around there. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but anyways, I'm going to screw this on there. All right, and a note, make sure that you still leave the tin foil on there in the pan underneath there when you're screwing this in, just in case this is overfilled. That way you don't make, you know, a mess. If there is oil that is overfilled in this filter when you go to screw this on like this, that way it will drip down onto this. And so don't remove the tin foil until you get this all the way tightened, and just hand tighten this filter on here, because trust me, when this engine heats up and that rubber expands, it's going to stick to that, and all you're doing is when you're tightening that down, you're just squishing that down, and it's just like scrunching the metal like this. So you don't want to do that, but you just want to get it hand tight, and then once this bike warms up and it gets hot, that rubber is going to stick, and from hot and cold expanding, it's gonna make an adhesive with that rubber. So you've seen how tight my other oil filter was, and it was just hand tight. I didn't get it any tighter than that. So just your hand strength, and that's it. That's all I'm putting on that thing, and that's all she's getting. Now that I've taken the tin foil away, you can see there's nothing on there. Just wipe this off from my oily hands. But so that's on there. The bolt's tight. I checked that. That's another hand tighten thing. You don't want to over torque the bolt. And when you're replacing the oil, I like to do it every 2 times. The third time, get a new crush washer for the bolt. Some people like to do it every time, but it's not tight enough for me to actually wear it out. So I actually did replace it the last time that I changed the oil. So I'm not going there, I'm not doing that. So that's the oil. Not going to refill the oil up yet until I actually get this replaced, and I'll be doing that tonight. I'm going to take this off and replace it. We're going to scrape off. I'm pretty sure that they just used Honda Bond on this, and I got to remove the parts out of this, take this off, remove this, put it on the other part, put it back on there, then I can fill the oil up in the bike. And then the only thing that we're still waiting on is the freaking handlebars, because some reason they were supposed to be delivered to me yesterday, and all of a sudden they said there was a delay, and I can't even check the FedEx thing. So I don't know what's going on. All right guys, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the screws off this real quick, and then I'll record some more after when I start to remove it. I also, when removing these, to loosen these up, I would loosen them up in a star pattern. So like over here, over here, over here, you know, and over here, and so forth and so on. The same way of tightening them up when you're torquing them down. All right guys, also if you're going to be removing this when the motor is cold, it's a good idea if you can. Let me move this out of the way here so it's not. It's a good idea to if you have a hairdryer or a heat gun, just heat this thing up a little bit on the top. I done removed the clutch cable off of here, relieve the pressure off of it, and it's set. And I'm not going to mess with it up there because it's set, and then I know how to put it back together, and I don't have to mess with any adjustments. But just get this thing really nice and hot, and then take your dead blow. And I don't really care if this gets any damaged here, but you're just going to take your dead blow and you're going to tap on this like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up, get this warm, and then I'm going to tap on it and then pull it off. And probably the next shot that you see, it will be off. Just want to tap on it a little bit. crack it a little bit. Trying to leave the screws in there as much as I can. Also, it's a good idea, the tinfoil, I just reused it and put it down here on the pipe because there's going to be some oil coming off of this, but we're just going to kind of pull on it here and you can start to see it give way. There we go. And if you have to, there's a little area to pull on it down here. You can get a screwdriver or something, but don't like really super force it hard, because you don't want to like damage the engine casing. I'd rather damage this than the engine casing, because yeah. But so you're just gonna pry on it like so. I mean, you get the idea here. And tap on a little here, just kind of loosen it up there. Right here. And the reason why I'm leaving the screws in there is because I just want to crack it. See how there it just went? It's just loose. See that? And then I'm pretty sure that I'm hoping that there's just Honda Bond on here, which I have some Suzuki Bond. Same thing. I'm going to clean this up and I'll put Suzuki Bond on it or whatever, Honda Bond. But you can see the oil coming off there onto the tin foil. That way you're not making a mess. So, yeah. Cover off. Sorry about the finger there. Oh shit, didn't mean to step on that. So here's your clutch basket right here, your plates, your springs. You can see that there's no gasket here. They just put Honda Bond on here, which is good because this is going to be a simple clean. I have the casing for this here, but basically we're leaving this open. You can see that there's that is super clean in there. I do not want to contaminate nothing in there, so I'll probably put something over the top of that, or the new casing for now while I'm prepping that, and then that way there will be no dirt and debris get in there. But basically what I have to do is, it's always nice to have some of this styrofoam. If you guys like this stuff here, if you have any of that stuff, put it on top of your tray or your desk or whatever that you're working on, or your workbench, or because look at that, simple wipe up, and it cleans it too. Oops, sorry, camera's down here. So simple wipe, you can see it, simple wipe up. So, and I want to keep all these screws in order so I know where they go, so I'm just going to kind of carefully flip this thing over on its side. And what I got to do is I got to take out this in here, which is my clutch lever, the depressor, and I have to remove that down there. The glass I don't, but this side piece right here I have to remove. So I have to keep all that. So I'm just going to kind of keep this like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some tape and I'm going to tape these screws down so they don't move. Or what I can basically do is go get the other cover, which I'll probably do, and I'll just stick the screws in it and leave it. That sounds like a better idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get the other cover and put the screws in it. Alright guys, so this is the new cover. We're going to take the foam out of here. We're going to make sure it's the right one. Looks like the right one. Everything looks good here. Take this off. Make sure there ain't no debris on this, because this is where I'm going to be working with it. So you can see it's the same damn thing. I just have to remove this and the inner parts in here. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to remove the screws, this here and this, and we're going to put them all in there and make it nice and simple. So we can start from right here, this here, into there. So basically that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get this prepped and ready to put back on, and then once I start to put the bond on it, then we'll just put it back on the bike. I'm going to heat it up a little bit, keep the motor warm, so that way it will adhere to the engine block. Okay guys, I don't know if you can see this like push pin. This is a push pin, And so when you pull your clutch in, it depresses right there. And there's a little groove that this push pin lays in. So what you want to do is you want to kind of see what I'm doing here with this lever. You can pull this here and you can pop that pin out. And I'll show you. I'll just drop it on the thing here. See, it just popped it out. And you can see down inside there the mechanism moving, and then this thing is grooved right there. So it's just a push pin. So we're going to leave this sitting right over here. Sorry about that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove this spring, and then this arm should pop out. Actually, the arm's just sliding right out right now, which is fucking awesome. So you just want to make sure that the arm is lined up in the hole. So you just slide the arm out, I guess, just like that. And the arm slides right out, and you can see the groove where that sits in. And then when you start pulling on that, it turns that and it pushes that pin out. And then you have that spring right there that goes in there. So I'll just have to set it back into the return and do it like that. So basically all I'm going to do is reverse order. Alright, all I did was remove the screws back. I'm just using this for a pattern to make sure that I keep the screws a lot more simpler, because a lot of these screws are and I apologize about the noise, I got my door open. A lot of these screws are different lengths than one another, so I'm thinking, I haven't checked them yet, but just to keep them in order, that's the way I did it. I just am switching them back and forth. So the next thing I got to do is I got to remove this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in there in this, and that way I don't lose any of that. Alright guys, now that we got that back in there, this is pretty simple how Honda did this, you know. I mean, that's, I'm sorry about my finger getting in the way, but Honda, I mean, that's pretty simple. I mean, just to push the basket in here. I'll show you. I keep getting my hand. Just to push this in right here, the bearing, depress this here. I mean, that's pretty simple. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to get this cleaned up, and I'm going to put some towels in here and get this cleaned up and make sure that I don't get anything on this. It just looks like they just put some Honda Bond on around that in there. Basically, that's what you want to do, is you want to put it on that side, not this side. It's easier to clean up. But I'm just going to get some of this stuff off of here. I'm going to use my heat gun, and we're just going to wipe some of this off. You can see there's still some stuff on there. Not bad though, which is good. So we're just going to use a little bit of Honda Bond. We're going to put it on there and then get that done. And then this is all back together, and I'm just going to probably fill it up with oil and then be done. I did want to show you guys, I did get this on there as well. There's a little rubber seal that goes around in here. I knew it wasn't bad, but I just got it all up in there. Make sure that it's all good and tight and nice and flush in there. Everything looks good. I want to tighten it up any further than that. I can't get it any tighter, actually. Alright guys, what I did is I put some oil down in here in this little piston here thing, and then on the spring I put some oil down in there just to lubricate it. Alright guys, so you can see what I done here. I cleaned it off. If you do use a razor like that one right there, be very careful. I would suggest using a plastic one. I did it on my GS and I don't know what happened to my plastic one. And then also you have these little metal dowels, these alignment dowels, and you want to make sure that you put those back on there and just get all that stuff cleaned off there, all the gasket. I just heated it up, cleaned it off, and then used rubbing alcohol. So I would get a good contact on there, and I had to put the screws back in there like that because I have to flip this over and use the Honda Bond on there. And I'm just basically going to do what they did here and put it on there, and then this will be all done. Alright guys, before I do apply the Honda Bond like this one over here, I'm going to clean this off with alcohol, make sure there's no oily surface on here, and then dry it off. That way I know that it'll bond good. It is a little chilly outside, so I want to make sure that this is going to stick, you know, like this over here. It looks like they just lightly coated it. Wasn't heavily coated, just a really thin layer. And that's what we're going to do to this here. And then I'm going to let it sit for like probably a good 5 minutes before I actually stick it on the bike. Okay, you guys can kind of see how I did the thin coat around here with the Honda Bond. You don't want to do any more than that. That's all that it should need. Just right around there. Once again, you're just going to use your dead blow to kind of tap on it, make sure it's setting in there good. You don't want to hit it too hard. Just want to make sure that it's setting in the dowels. Want to make sure that it's lined up with these dowels right here. And then there's one over here as well. It's like right in there. But looks like it's all in there. Screw these down. But you just want to put a thin layer of that Honda Bond on there, or whatever you have, Suzuki Bond. I wouldn't use that orange freaking gasket sealer shit. Just use what the book tells you to use. Unless it's made for sealing blocks or something, then you're good. It'll work. But so I'm just gonna tighten these down, get these set, and then I'm gonna put my clutch cable back on here, and then get that all in there and get this set on there, and then we'll go to torquing these down. I don't think they didn't seem like there were any more than 15 pounds on there for each one. So. Alright, we got it all back on there. Looks pretty good, huh? Might as well take this off, put it down there. Got it all on there. Clutch is engaging like it's supposed to. So, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, yes, it's engaging. Just, I didn't have this screwed down tight enough, so. But you want to do these in the star pattern, like I said. Let your gasket sealer dry before you make a mess of trying to get it to... I got like a little bit of mess on here, but it looks a lot better than what it did. It looks brand new again, so I'm going to let it dry, leave it at that. We got this done, and the next thing to do is the handlebars, and I can't do anything. I can't do shit. So we'll be waiting a couple more days to finish the bike. All I got to do is put the handlebars on there and the givey and the new levers.